Thank you to Kames and Hafs and all the organizers. Well, I'm going to talk about geo-economic approach to Turkey-Central Asian relations. And of course, the year of 1991 was a turning point in the beginning of the relations, because with the dissolution of the Soviet Union, all 15 former Soviet republics became independent, and a new era began for all the republics as well as the Turkic-speaking countries of Central Asia. What is the role of Turkey in Central Asia? Turkey has a very special role, because when the Central Asian republics just declared their independence, while they were waiting they were waiting for the reaction of the world excitedly, and Turkey was the first country to recognize their independence. Therefore, Turkey's role is very special for Central Asian republics. Of course, there are common historical roots, cultural roots, linguistic, ethnic, and common religious values between Turkey and Central Asian republics. Therefore, bilateral relations that started in 1991 with Turkey were always had significance. So I'm going to talk about relations between the Republic of Turkey and Central Asian Turkic republics for the last 28 years. After giving a short introduction or analysis to geopolitical relations, I'm going to talk about the economic relations and rate of change in trading volume between Turkey and Central Asian republics. Well, the current situation is sometimes assessed as new great game in Central Asia. Of course, it is more complex than the 18th century great game, because number of players is more this time. For Central Asia, the role of USA and European countries are assessed as global powers. Russia and China are neighboring major states. India and Japan are countries with no direct geo borders, but important powers with regional weight. Of course, it's Professor Akçal's classification, but I would like to put Korea into this classification, because Korea is also a country that doesn't have direct geo border with Central Asia, but it's an important power with regional weight, especially in terms of economy in Central Asia. And Turkey, Iran, Afghanistan are assessed as countries with significant potentials in the Islamic world. It's Akçal's classification, but I would like to add that Turkey's role is more than this classification, because, as I told, there is common historical, cultural, ethnic, religious, and other values in case of Turkey. Well, there are many international cooperation organizations that Turkey and Central Asian republics have together, and this is not the whole list, because actually there are more. Some of them are political, some of them economic, and some of them academic and cultural cooperation organizations. If to give short political characterization about foreign policies and about the current status of Turkey and Central Asian states, after the independence and throughout almost 3 decades, Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan choose the way to be withdrawn from the global world. They choose to be more closed, but Uzbekistan's way is being changed much in the last 3 years with the Mirziyoyev's rule in 2016. So for the last 2-3 years, their politics has been changed. Still going on this change. Kyrgyzstan and Kazakhstan, they have been determined to be integrated into the global system by opening to the outside world, and their relations with Turkey, especially for Kazakhstan, it has been always positive. Kazakhstan chose the way of having multi-vectored policy. And Kyrgyzstan and Turkey relations almost much positive, but sometimes there have been some crises after 2016, some crisis related to July 15 events, but now it's over, the crisis is over. Well, Azerbaijan is not in Central Asia, but without Azerbaijan, Turkey's vision for Turkic countries would be lacking. So, although Azerbaijan is not located in Central Asia, I would like to touch Azerbaijan as well. Azerbaijan-Turkey politics, they are called one nation, two states. Therefore, there have been warm relations with Azerbaijan and sometimes personal friendship of leaders, of presidents of Azerbaijan and Turkey in the past. So more warm relations, stable relations with Azerbaijan as well. When we look at the economic relations, here, of course, after the dissolution of the Soviet Union, there was one very important problem in terms of economics. Well, Soviet system was centrally planned system from Moscow, and all the republics were intertied, interbound. So when you, for example, get a mine, you cannot have a product in this republic. It will be moved to another republic. So all the republics were connected and interdependent. Therefore, right after the independence, there was this problem. They couldn't act independently in terms of economy, so they had to cooperate. When we look at Turkey's main investment areas in Central Asia, we see that they are mainly the branches of construction, hotel management, consumer goods, textiles, food, service sector, banking, transport, oil, agriculture, and so on. Generally, in Central Asian market, Turkish goods are popular, they are demanded in terms of their quality and price. We can evaluate them, European Turkish goods, like European quality Asian price or Western quality Eastern price. In Central Asian markets, made in Turkey goods have to compete mainly with European, Russian, and Chinese goods, sometimes Korean goods. And let's look at the mutual trade between Turkic countries in 1000 USD. Here we see, for example, Turkey's import data and export data with Turkic countries, and then trading volume. And let's look at the last two columns. Here we can do analysis. We can see the change. Well, first of all, here, small explanation. In 1991, as I told before, Turkic countries became independent. And first 10 years, they are called transition period. Therefore, it was just transition from the Soviet planned economy to market economy. Therefore, here first 10 years, first decade is omitted. Here we will look at the next decade from 2001 and 2012. And here we see that there has been always rise. For example, Turkey's trading volume with Azerbaijan increased almost 10 times, with Kazakhstan almost 15 times, with Kyrgyzstan almost 13 times, with Uzbekistan 10 times, and Turkmenistan 10 times. Actually, in terms of Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan, we don't have all data because they prefer to be close, so sometimes some data is not available. But according to, as far as we could reach the data, we see the change, there is rise. However, since 2012 and since 2013, we see shrinkage in trading volume. Here you can see that in 6 years we see shrinkage and decrease in terms of trading volume. So why this happened? Because there was actually global trade entered a general slowdown phase after 2013. Of course, this slowdown in its turn affected the trade between the Turkic countries. And global trade started to recover since 2017, and in 2018 it exceeded the 6 year before trade volume. But the trade between the Turkic countries has not recovered fully yet from this slowdown. And Uzbekistan, thank you. And Uzbekistan is the only country that has increased its trade with other countries in the last years, because especially in the last 3 years with Mirziyoyev's rule, it started gradually abandon its politics of closed economy. It's going to change a little bit. For example, in tourism, in last year, in February, Uzbekistan made it more available, for example, tourism entering visa and visa-free countries. So many tourists have visited Uzbekistan since February 2018. And trade volume between Azerbaijan and Turkmenistan has also increased in this period. And actually, Uzbekistan arises like a big potential in terms of economy, because there are still many fields to be invested, to make investments. So it's gonna be a kind of new potential, new opportunities for investment. So to sum up, here we see the year of 1991 as the milestone, and we talked about geopolitical relations that in general have been positive, but of course there have been ups and downs from time to time. And almost 30 years of bilateral relations witnessed mostly warm but sometimes frozen relations with some countries. For example, in Uzbekistan last 2 decades ago, but now it's warm, it's becoming more positive now. And as for the economic relation, Turkish economic investment and goods are welcomed and demanded in Central Asian market. And in the recent years, we saw the decrease in the mutual trading volume. And this was due to the world economic slowdown, and we see very slow recovery in terms of economy. Well, thank you for your attention. That's all.